Welcome to Cold Brew Finance's U.S. End-of-Week Deep Dive, covering market moves in indexes, sectors, stocks, and global markets for the week ending Friday, September 5th, 2025. Kicking things off, I'm Max Profit. Key indexes were mixed this week. The S&P 500 index reached a new all-time high, closing at 6,481.51, up 21.26 points. The Dow 30 index fell for a second consecutive week, down 144 points to 45,400.87. The Nasdaq Composite gained 244.84 points to 21,700.39. Market breadth shows strong weekly momentum. The Russell 2000 saw advancing stocks outpace decliners by more than 3-1. The S&P 400 midcap showed similar strength with 300 advances versus 99 declines. The S&P 500 had 321 stocks advance against 175 declining. Looking at weekly returns, the S&P 400 midcap index led with a 1.3% gain, followed by the Nasdaq Composite at 1.1%. The Russell 2000 rose 1%, while the S&P 500 added 0.3%. The Dow was the only decliner, down 0.3%. The 10-year performance shows the Nasdaq Composite leading with a 165% annual rate of return. The S&P 500 and Dow followed with 129% and 109% respectively, while mid and small caps showed more modest gains.
Checking out best and worst performing equities, I'm Penny Stock. Leading the pack this week, HWH International surged over 256% to close at 5.13. The stock hit a new one-year high and shows a very strong upward trend. Concord International Group and Hour Loop both gained over 160%. Looking at weekly returns, HWH International dominated with a 256% return, averaging daily gains of 61%. Concord International followed with a 163% weekly return. Year-to-date, Hour Loop has gained 62%, while Sound is up an impressive 1,304%. On longer timeframes, Hour Loop shows a 192% one-year return. Sound stands out with a massive 1,631% annual return. Nova Lifestyle demonstrates consistent growth with a 219% one-year return, though its 10-year performance shows a decline. Among large caps, Western Digital led gains, rising 14.5% to 92.4, marking a new all-time high with strong upward volatility. Broadcom and Seagate Technology both gained over 12%, while Alphabet hit a new record high during its fifth consecutive weekly advance. Weekly performance shows Western Digital leading with a 14.6% return. Year-to-date, Seagate Technology leads the group with a 118% gain, while Broadcom has advanced 44%. Micron Technology shows strong momentum with a 56% gain this year. Looking at long-term performance, Broadcom stands out with a remarkable 10-year return of 2,663%. Micron and Alphabet both show strong 10-year gains exceeding 600%. Western Digital maintains steady growth with a 52% decade-long return. On the downside, Chijet Motor plunged 91% to 0.16, hitting an all-time low with strong downward volatility. 707 Cayman Holdings fell 85% in its fifth straight weekly decline. Neonode dropped nearly 79% to 5.11, marking a new yearly low. Year-to-date performance shows severe declines, with 707 Cayman Holdings down 99%. Chijet Motor has lost 93%, while Next Technology Holding dropped 94%. Purple Biotech continues its downward trend, falling 86% this year. In this week's worst performers, Chijet Motor plunged 91% to close at 16 cents, hitting a new all-time low. 707 Cayman Holdings fell 85% to 33 cents, marking its fifth consecutive down week. Neonode dropped nearly 79% to 5.11. Leading the large-cap decliners, Lululemon Athletica tumbled 17% to 167.80, hitting a new 52-week low amid strong downward volatility. Kenvue fell 10% to 18.62, breaking down after a period of flat trading. Transdeem declined 9% to 1,271.4. Looking at weekly returns, Lululemon showed the steepest decline with a 17% drop and average daily losses exceeding 4%. Kenvue and Transdime followed with weekly declines of 10% and 9% respectively. Over the longer term, Constellation Brands has declined 40% year-over-year, while Lululemon is down 34%. Despite recent weakness, MGM Resorts maintains positive returns across all measured timeframes.
And now on to U.S. sector performance. Communication services led the way with a remarkable 5% gain to 420.75, hitting a new all-time high amid strong upward momentum. Consumer cyclical also showed strength, rising 1.5% to 1,889.67. Other sectors posted modest gains with strong underlying trends. Market breadth was notably positive today, with advances outpacing declines across most sectors. Consumer cyclical showed particularly strong internals, with 310 advances versus 175 declines. Healthcare also demonstrated broad participation, with 628 advancing issues against 402 declining. Looking at returns, communication services stands out with a weekly return of 5.1% and strong daily gains. Consumer cyclical follows with a 1.6% weekly return. Year-to-date, communication services has surged 23.1%, leading the pack among these sectors. On longer time frames, technology shows impressive strength with a 10-year annual rate of return of 23.1%. Communication services and consumer cyclical have also delivered solid performance with 10-year annual returns of 11.3% and 12.4% respectively.
Communication services stocks showed strong momentum this week. Alphabet led the group with a 10.3% gain to 235, hitting new all-time highs amid strong upward volatility. Fox also reached new highs at 61.50. Warner Bros. Discovery broke out of sideways movement, rising 4%. Weekly returns show Alphabet leading with a 10.4% gain and strong daily momentum. Warner Bros. Discovery and Fox posted solid gains above 3%. Year-to-date, Netflix leads the sector with a nearly 40% return. Long-term performance highlights Netflix's dominance with an impressive 450% three-year return. Alphabet and Take-Two Interactive both show strong 10-year annual returns above 22%. Warner Bros. Discovery remains the only stock negative over 3 years.
The worst-performing sectors were led by energy, dropping 3.5% to 662.26. Financial services fell 1.7% despite hitting a new all-time high yesterday. Utilities, industrials, and basic materials also declined, though less significantly. Market breadth shows mixed signals. Financial services had strong daily advances with 486 stocks, up versus 131 down, despite the sector's overall decline. Energy showed weaker breadth with 88 advances versus 62 declines. Basic materials and industrials maintained relatively balanced advance-decline ratios. In weekly returns, energy led losses at minus 3.5%, while financial services fell 1.7%. Year-to-date, however, industrials leads these sectors with a 14% gain, followed by basic materials and utilities, each up about 9.5%. Looking at long-term performance, industrial shows the strongest 10-year return at 194%, followed by financial services at 190%. Energy has significantly underperformed with just a 43% gain over the same period, while utilities and basic materials delivered returns of 104% and 121% respectively.
Energy stocks showed significant weakness this week. Diamondback Energy led the decline, dropping 6.7% to 138.71, showing a very strong downward trend. HWH hit a new 52-week low at 72.63, while Texas Pacific Land fell 44.29. Looking at returns, Diamondback Energy has struggled the most with a year-to-date decline of 15.3%. HWH isn't far behind, down 27.7% year-to-date, showing persistent weakness in this sector. Both companies are experiencing substantial negative momentum. Long-term performance shows Texas Pacific Land standing out with an impressive 10-year annual return rate of 35.9%. However, most energy stocks are showing more modest decade-long gains, with EOG Resources recording just 4.4% annual returns over the same period.
Thanks for watching. I'm Max Profit, along with my AI co-host Penny Stock. Please like, subscribe, comment, share. Cold Brew Finance is an experimental project with market reports written, narrated, and delivered totally by AI, with market data kindly provided by financialmodelingprep.com. Always seek professional financial advice before making any investment decisions. Check into the channel daily for coverage of stocks, crypto, currency, and commodities. Thanks for watching.